إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all the brothers and sisters who are tuning in at home to another episode of Abd Sabilin. Once again, I'm honored to be joined by Ustad Abdul Rahman Hassan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, Ustad?
I'm good, Allah barik.
MashaAllah, good to see you. Allah barik.
Allah barik.
So the previous two episodes, we started kind of like a mini series on kind of like the Muslim family, if you want to call it that. So we did an episode on a righteous wife, and then we followed that up with an episode on a righteous husband. And now to complete the trilogy, inshallah, what I wanted to do is do an episode on raising a righteous child. So that's what this episode is all going to be all about, inshallah. And at the same time, actually on our channel, either it's going to be coming soon or perhaps it's even come already. We're not sure yet, depending on when this episode is going to be released. But we're actually going to be focusing on junior content. So content that is aimed for around about 8 to 16 to 18 year olds, juniors, young adults. We want to actually target these people specifically because ultimately they are the future of this ummah. And although they can no doubt benefit from some of the other content that we have on our channel, we also want to produce tailored, specific content for them to help them develop, to nurture them. So this is also part of that kind of series as well. And for anybody who hasn't seen that kind of content yet, whether you're in that age group or whether you're a parent who has children in that age group, then definitely subscribe to the channel, inshallah, because it's coming very soon. So Ustad, I'm going to give it over to you to start, as I always do, inshallah. Any way you want to start, it's completely up to you.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له يقول الحق وهو يهدي السبيل وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Inshallah ta'ala, when it comes to تربية الأولاد, يعني nurturing and cultivating children, there's a few points that you have to discuss and talk about in order to have a good understanding of the topic and be, inshallah ta'ala, and I hope the people who are watching are also going to be able to benefit from. So I just like to put out a framework that inshallah I'm going to work with. So the first point I want to mention, inshallah, and I want to speak about is the importance of tarbiyatul awlad. Why is it so important? If you look at some parents, the concept of having children is like society. People ask me all the time, why are you not having children? Some people are like that. So when they get married, parents, family members are asking, oh, is your wife pregnant yet? Is your wife pregnant yet? And so the child is like more of it comes with marriage straight away.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand what you're saying.
But people don't understand marriage comes, and maybe people are not ready to have children yet. They need to both work together in order to see if they can actually have children now. Because it's something you have to prepare for. It requires preparation, okay? And some people now, they have this belief, sometimes sadly enough, I have to be honest, it's the old Somali culture as well, which is, the man just wants to marry the woman, to have children, and he doesn't care how they grow up, doesn't care what their lifestyle is. And sadly enough, wallahi, I'll be honest with you, I've actually met a few people who don't even recall their children's names. That's how many children they've had. And that's mainly back home when you go. I know one of my uncles, he named his children the same name. Yeah. Or maybe he forgot that he had that name before. And I don't know what the reason was. But that's common. Sometimes, they're sad and you're like, why are you sad for? It's like, my wife hasn't had children in the last few years. But you've got 10 kids, you haven't taken care of any of them. You don't know what their lifestyle is. You don't even know how they are. It's just more. Get it out. Don't let it be in your system. Just let it out. Let the children out. She has to give birth. If she can't, then get married to another one. So I think we need to understand the importance of this topic.
Definitely.
The second point, inshallah ta'ala, is what does it mean, tarbiyatul awlad? If you don't have a right perception of the thing, you're never going to be able to do justice. And if I don't know your value and I don't know who you are, I won't give you the respect you deserve.
Yeah.
Arafat?
Yeah.
So everything's like that. If someone doesn't know the value of the Qur'an, he can't value the Qur'an. If someone doesn't know the importance of something and its meaning and its reality, he won't be able to give it justice. So I think that's the second point I want to talk about, inshallah ta'ala. The third point I want to talk about is Jawanibu Tarbiyah. Jawanibu Tarbiyah means the different perspectives Tarbiyatul Awlad enters. Because a lot of people, they understood from nurturing children physically, that's it.
Right, okay. Yeah,
so is it restricted only to the physical side, or is it more than that? Inshallah, I want to also talk about. The fourth point I want to talk about is, when it comes to Tarbiyatul Awlad, who are the people that play a role in the nurturing of the children? And I'm going to compare that with how it used to be back in the days, and now the time that we're living in, inshallah ta'ala. The next point, inshallah ta'ala, which is the fifth point, right? The fifth point, inshallah ta'ala, is how the Sharia has encouraged us when it comes to the nurturing and the cultivating of the children. So I'm going to bring quite evidences here, inshallah ta'ala. The sixth point, inshallah ta'ala, I want to talk about is, that was the sixth. The seventh one, inshallah ta'ala, so this is the seventh. The seventh one, inshallah ta'ala, I want to talk about is how can we actually reach that point we're looking for in Tarbiyatul Awlad, nurturing our kids, inshallah ta'ala. Those are the few points I want to go in. I might not go according to that order, because it's a natural conversation we're having. But these 7 points, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to go, inshallah ta'ala, through it, bi'idhnillahi al-kareem. Can I just start with the first one, inshallah? The importance of Tarbiyatul Awlad. The importance of Tarbiyatul Awlad becomes very clear if you look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and the biography of our Messenger ﷺ, how he was. Like if you look at how he was, salawatullahi wasalam, to his grandchildren, how he was to his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, and how he was to Abdullah ibn Abbas and others. When the Prophet said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ya ghulam, inni u'allimuka kalimat, احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله تجده تجاهك إذا سألت فاسأل الله وإذا استعنت فاستعن بالله واعلم أن الأمة لو اجتمعوا على أن ينفعوك بشيء لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله لك وإن اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله عليك رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. Imam Tirmidhi narrated this in his Jami'. You have to understand, Nabi Muhammad, he is the leader of the Muslims. He's a prophet sent from Allah. He's got so much important things in life to do, the responsibilities and everything that are on him. With that being said, he was focusing on educating the young. Ya ghulam, inni u'allimuka, I'm going to teach you. Young boy, Abdullah ibn Abbas was said that when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, he was either 13. That's a view. Another view says no, he was 15. Another view actually said he's 17.
So he's definitely younger than these ages at the point where the Prophet
was educating him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So the second point that shows you the importance of Tarbiyatul Awlad is if we look at al-wad'ul hali, the situation that we're in today, how the people are today. It's not like it used to be, man. Shahid.
Yeah.
The way it is right now,
Scary.
Is very scary, how it used to be back in the days. Yani, as I'm going to speak about it later, there were things that used to help a person in nurturing their children properly, but now it's limited just to the parents, and even the masajids don't want you to bring your children. And people are, Tarbiyatul Awlad now become restricted to the house.
Yeah.
Everyone has to do it. Every parent, mother and father have to do it themselves. The things that helped you are no longer there anymore, or very little in many places around the world. You're worried to let your child step out of the house because either something bad's going to be done to your child, or your child's going to be influenced in a bad way. Vultures and evil people are waiting for your children. So those two I want to mention. There are 10 points, but I just want to focus. Those two main reasons are enough for us to understand the importance of تربية الأولاد now.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, like you said, in the Somali community where it's just seen as a thing, just having babies. Even in the West, I think it's just seen as like a natural thing to do. You just, you live this life where you just go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. But no one realizes that actually that part of having kids is a huge responsibility. And often actually you don't realize it until you become a parent yourself.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's such a responsibility. But in reality, the child has rights for you before you even get married. And your responsibility is to pick a spouse that is going to be good for the child, who's going to raise the child the right way. So this responsibility starts really way before people start thinking about it.
It's so true. You're right. It does. But then when you get married, you still have a second chance sometimes. Is this mother going to be the right one? Am I going to be, this woman can say, is this the father I can trust with my children? There's a chance you both can say, you know what? It's become clear to me, man. I can't trust you to be the father of my kids. I'm sorry, man. I'm leaving this marriage. Or the father says to the sister, look, I've assessed the situation and you're not suitable to be the mother of my kids. Yeah, and everyone still has that second chance.
That's right.
Don't just bring children into a toxic environment.
Absolutely. Either that or you both agree that, okay, we're not ready for it. Let's work on it. Let's work on it together, and then we're gonna have kids once we're ready, inshallah.
Correct. Naam, sahih. Also, what does it actually mean, tarbiyatul awlad? Mafhumu tarbiyatul awlad. What does it actually mean, tarbiyatul awlad? We hear this word tarbiyah. Do you give your children tarbiyah? You need to give your children tarbiyah. Are you giving your children tarbiyah? So the reality is, what does it mean? What does it actually mean? It means nurturing and cultivating your child for this world and the hereafter.
Okay, both worlds. A lot of people sometimes they think it's just for this world,
and some people think it's just the hereafter.
Yeah.
So is the child learns مصالحهم الدنيوية والأخروية. The children, they learn their benefits in this world and the benefits of the hereafter. That's what they learn. That's your responsibility as a parent. That's what it means when I say I'm giving tarbiyah to my children. I am preparing them. تنشئة الجيل القادم, the next generation that's coming into this world, who are going to be the next prime ministers and the presidents, who are going to be the next, engineers and doctors and the ulama. They have to be prepared. إعداد كامل, a complete preparation for this dunya and how to tackle everything in it, and the hereafter, and how they need to get a good place in Jannah and have high aspiration when it comes to the hereafter. This is what tarbiyah means. And if someone doesn't understand that, his observation of tarbiyah means, oh, I gave my child's got a degree. Yeah, like he's an atheist. Or my child, he's in the masjid, but then he's alatan yatakaffafun an-nas. He's begging the people. He doesn't make no income for himself. He's not working at all, but he's in the masjid. What you haven't prepared your child for what was really meant to be.
Yeah. So I think this is where a lot of parents actually find it's very difficult, because sometimes there are situations where it seems like the two are conflicting with each other when you have a choice to make. For example, your child is just about to go to school. You have a choice between sending them to an Islamic school, but the grades are very poor there, or you send them to a secular school which has got really high grades, but it's non-Muslims, everything, and they don't know what to do in these kind of situations. What would your advice be there, just generally?
You see, the environment for a child who isn't receiving any guidance from his parents is very, very toxic for a child.
It's dangerous, isn't it? It's dangerous.
Yeah, it's conflicting, especially if what's coming to him is very bad and it's larger in quantity and more consistent than the guidance that he receives from home. Yeah, la shakka, it's going to have a negative effect on the child. Now, inshallah ta'ala,
I think, just on that point, I think that's something that's really, really important, that's worth mentioning. Any kind of decision you make about your child's education, your child's schooling, it doesn't replace the tarbiyah that they have to have at home. That home tarbiyah always needs to be there, and often it can even eradicate the things that are the harms that are coming to the child from school, for example. I remember something you told me about your dad. Your dad used to send you to a school in the UK, but when you used to come back, he used to sit you guys down and say, okay, what did you learn today? What did you learn today? And you say, oh, I heard this, we heard this.
Before we even went to school as well in the morning. Before we even went to school in the morning, my father would basically give us little reminders. We pray Salatul Asr, Fajr with him, and one of us would lead the Salah. He would pour so much benefit into us. Then we would go to school. And then when we came back from school, again, he would talk to us about what we learned. And
what did you hear in the playground? And
Yeah.
you'll remove this and say that's not correct, that's not correct. That's beautiful. And that's where it comes down to, because a lot of people, when they have this kind of decision to make between school and education, or send them to Islamic school, secular school, they don't realize that the tarbiyah that they have at the home, that's essentially what's going to be most important. And sometimes what they think is that it's a hard thing. It's not an easy thing. It's a hard thing. Some parents would just rather, they're busy with work, they're busy with other responsibilities, they've got to pay bills. They just want to send their kids away and that's it, and just leave it there.
So, the question now, I think a lot of people should be asked, and every one of us should ask ourselves as well, is the jawanib, the places where tarbiyah enters. Tarbiyah, akhi, it enters nurturing the child and cultivating him, like his logic and his thinking process. The parent has to challenge the child's brain. Inshallah, practical steps we're going to give, but we want these framework to be understood.
Yeah.
Aqliyan, the child's aql and his thinking and how he sees things. Parents need to make the child grow from that perspective. It's sad, wallahi, sometimes you see a child who's like big, Allahumma barik, physically is well healthy, you can see it, and when he talks or when he converses with you, you can see his brain wasn't and there's no medical reason for the child. It's just that he didn't have parents who were talking to him,
right,
and allowing him to mentally and rationally grow.
Right.
So it's a problem on the parent's side, not the child. Also, the child has to be nurtured nafsiyan, his nafs, because we know the nafs is 3 types, as Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned in the Qur'an. Allah says in the Qur'an, the first type, may Allah give us this nafs, is called nafsul mutma'innah. It's the nafs that's tranquil. And Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Fajr, يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. This nafs is tranquil upon the truth. It's found its place in this world, and what awaits for it in hereafter is just amazing. The second one is called nafsul lawama. It blames itself. There's good and there's bad in it, and it's consistently being pulled and pushed by those 2 elements, those 2 things. Sometimes the good is strong and he's with the good people. It's the one Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Qiyamah, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. نفس اللوامة here is the one that blames itself. It's always blaming itself. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. So Allah mentioned it, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. The third type is nafsu, the soul which is al-amaratu bis-su'. Allah mentions in Surah Yusuf, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. This was the one that commands the person evil. It's given into its desires. It's a nafs that is captive for its desires. It's a slave for his desires. As Ibn al-Qayyim mentions in his Nuniyah, هربوا من الرق الذي خلقوا له فبلوا برق النفس والشيطان. They basically ran away from being slaves to Allah, but they became slaves for their nafs and shaitan. They're the ones Allah talks about. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. So as a parent, your child is innocent. He doesn't have النفس الأمارة بالسوء. Innocent kids are very innocent. It's the role of the parent to do tarbiyah of that nafs as well. The third part that the parent has to do tarbiyah of, so the first one was the aql. The second one is the nafs. The third is the physical side of the child as well. A lot of people think the tarbiyah of the child's physical side is that he looks good, he's big, he's eating a lot, but they don't realize that if your child's not eating healthy, it's going to affect his life as well. So parents should not give their children fizzy drinks and snacks and all of these things, and things that have so much sugar in it. Reduce on that, because it does affect the child's memorization, number one. It also affects the child's thinking process. The child is so tired. A lot of parents are like, I'm trying to make my son memorize the Qur'an. He just had a Fanta fruit twist.
Yeah.
Or he had a Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
The parent is unable to force the child or even tell the child to sit down and listen to Qur'an or memorize. He's so full of energy. Does that mean there's so much glucose, so much energy is in his system? So giving a good diet to your child, again, is the tarbiyah that the child has. Another angle that it enters is teaching, nurture, the jawanib it enters is ijtimaiyan. You have to prepare your child for the community and the people.
It's true.
He can't just be a loner.
Yes.
He has to live with society and people. A lot of people, akhi, if you look at it, especially the ones who are by themselves, kids who are born, have no siblings, you can always tell this. A lot of them who haven't been taught, they have this selfishness in them.
Because they're used to getting everything they want. They don't have to share.
Yeah.
They don't have to share their toys. They don't have to share anything.
Entitlement.
Yeah, entitlement. Yeah.
And this is mine. Why is it being taken away from me? And they generally just don't understand society, or even people just don't get along with them. Your child, you have to prepare them, or her or him. Your child, you have to prepare them for society and the community, because this is the people he's gonna live with and coexist with. He has to have the manners and the attitude and the mindset and the brain of dealing with people. A lot of people are not, and inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to come to all of this practical steps, inshallah, how to do it.
We're going to come to that,
inshallah. Also, your child, he's not always going to be with society. So can he work alone? This is another angle.
Needs to be a balance, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to be. He shouldn't rely on people all the time. Like, I can't do this by myself. I need people to help me. You have to prepare your child to be independent as well, and to rely on his own efforts. These are some of it, by the way, but these are all the angles in which the tarbiyah enters. And as you can see, we have a very deficient observation. It's like, has he memorized this? That's all we see it. But we're literally, wallahi, we should literally look at, we're either creating the next serial killer, or we're making the next righteous Muslim scholar or Muslim leader or Muslim doctor, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big task, wallah.
It's a full-time job. It's very comprehensive. It's not just from one angle, one perspective. It needs all round care. And
wallahi, akhi, Shahid, even though we spoke about this topic before, the issue of wives and husband, but there's also always connected with this topic, which is how, subhanallah, we've been convinced, especially our sisters have been convinced, that being a housewife, taking care of your children, is a rubbish role. How a father has been convinced as well in being a career man, where he's focused on his career alone and he abandons his children's future. He's talking about his mortgage, he's talking about his house, he's talking about how many properties he has. His children are selling drugs on the street. Or he's the local imam of the masjid, talking to the people, doing khutab and durus, and his children cause the biggest havoc on the streets.
It's a con, and it's sad to say we've had the wool pulled over our eyes, and of course it comes from the West, but it's not restricted to the West anymore, because the internet is everywhere, like I always say. But this concept that a woman has to be a career woman, she has to go get a job, and a man should also focus on his career. It's not a surprise that the people who benefit the most from this is the government, because the tax they've got 2 taxpayers now, so they're getting more money. The economy, that's all they care about. They just care about lining their own pockets. It's really sad to say that we, number one, as human beings, and then number 2, even as Muslims, have fallen for this trap. And we actually see, and a woman now, when she looks at this, she actually thinks that that's what I should be doing in my life. And then it's a societal thing as well, because she'd be living amongst the non-Muslims and that's what they'll be doing. And then she'd be like, okay, my friends are doing that, so let me do that. And this is the right thing to do. And it's really, really sad.
Shahid, I was studying linguistics in university, and one of the things that you learn in linguistics is language shift. One of the modules that we did in linguistics, applied linguistics, was how language has shifted in advertisement from how it was before and how it is now. And one of the videos that we watched in class was the washing liquid, like Ariel, bold 2-in-1, you know?
Yeah.
How a woman was the one that was, you know, promoting it.
On the adverts.
On the adverts. Yeah. She's wearing an apron.
Yes.
She's in the kitchen. The father comes from work and the kids are on the table, and then she's, washing the clothes. And that was it. You now look at that, it's changed. The men are doing it.
Yeah.
The mother. Now, the point I'm trying to show is whether the man should help in the house or not. We've already spoke about this topic. Alhamdulillah, we don't go in. But I'm speaking from the perspective of how they've taken the mother out of the house. And as you already mentioned, it's because of their greedy perspective, which is they want the mother or the woman to go out there and make money, and they take tax from her. So one of the things that caught my attention was, if you look at this movement that started, which is the women liberation movement in the UK after World War II.
The suffragettes and the feminism movement
started. It was actually created after the men came back from war, and they came back and they left. Their mindset was their wives were at home taking care of the children. So what happened was they came back, and when they came back, they saw that the government had already employed the women, because the men are at war, taxes the government needs to take it. So they were taking tax from the women. So the government started thinking, okay, there's an idea popped in their heads, like, wow, we can actually make money from the women, and actually they're actually doing a better job than the men. Now when the men come back, they're going to tell their wives to go home. So how can we get through to them? So they convinced the women to become feminists. They started advertising, and the men are trying to subjugate you. And then the women movement liberation started, and it was just a selfish move from the government. They don't have masalih, the benefit of the people in mind. Now the men were like, sorry, this woman is a free woman, she can do what she wants. He either has to follow the program or not. Now what happens, Shahid, is that the child, who's taking care of this child now?
Exactly.
Who's giving tarbiyah to your child? So you're going to take him to a daycare. Are you telling me a daycare is going to take care as much as you would take care of your own child?
Of course not. 20 kids running around with one person to look after. No, and without the love and attention either. No, there's no doubt. That's the reason we're bringing it in this episode.
And you know what's actually, Shahid, they have to pay money for the daycare. So they lose so much money.
Yes.
They end up, Shahid, spending a lot of money that the woman was making. So there's not really money that's made from it. Yeah. The wife and the husband are not making a lot of money, to be honest. Arafat?
Yeah.
They lost their child, and when they both come home, they're tired, so they can't even spend more time with the child. The child's now, he doesn't have any affection from his mother and father, no attention, no appreciation, and now the child has to be raised by the council flat kids. They have to raise him. They're teaching him how to roll up the first, drugs. What's it called? Spliff. The first spliff. They're teaching him how to roll it up. All of this is coming from what? From the absence of the mother and the father. I'm not saying that all these mothers who are going out to work are all, they're feminists. No, not at all. There are some mothers who are single mother. The husband just left them with 4 or 5 kids. But this is what happens. So the point I'm trying to come to is tarbiyah enters all of this.
Yes. No, it's more the mentality that we're speaking out against, really, rather than specific situations or specific households or people. It's the fact that that's the sad thing here. The innocent child, it's the one that suffers, really. It's the child that suffers. And then guess what? When that child grows older, all it's seen is that his mum has been working or her mum has been working. So then she thinks that this is what I need to do with my life. And it's just a cycle that continues. But the really sad thing is that the role of a housewife or a stay-at-home mum, whatever you want to call it, has really been belittled when actually it's the most important role in society. You're raising the future society. What possibly could be more important?
That is the one thing, Wallahi Shahid, I'm so heartbroken when I think about it. I get saddened by it. How the housewife, how a mother has been ridiculed how even, wallahi, belittled. Some sisters are ashamed when they are filling a form in and they have to tick housewife.
Yeah.
No, sister, wallahi. Sister, you don't
It's
have
such
to
a
work.
noble task.
Wallahi, and you don't have to even work, sister. This
Yeah.
man has to provide for you and your children.
Islam has given you that. And you know what's funny, Ustad? Most men, if you ask them, do you enjoy work? They'll say, no, of course I don't like to work. Who wants to wake up in the morning, go to the office, on the computer, come back tired? So a woman who doesn't even have to work, now she wants to work.
But Shahid, wallahi, I have to be fair as well, right?
Yeah.
And this is something I saw. I've spoken to family members, I've spoken to cousins, female cousins and family members. Wallahi, Shahid, there are a lot of sisters who work but don't want to work.
Because
there's not a man around anymore.
Yeah.
No, the man is not just the husband only. He's part of it. The father isn't providing for his daughter. The husband isn't providing for his wife. The children are not providing for their mother. You see, so to be honest, we have to, as men, to be honest, even though we fight with feminism and we mention how we disagree with them. Wallahi, one thing we have to be honest about as men, we have to be fair, is feminism can only exist at a time like this when there's not real men. Feminism wouldn't exist at the time of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, who were real men. It can exist at a time like this when, wallahi, there's qalilul wujud, little real men. Now, I'm not saying feminism is right for it to exist, but we also as men have to ask ourselves, every problem that's there, are we playing a role in its existence? We need to ask ourselves, are we contributing to its existence? And I have to say that, yes, there's a high percentage of why there are women who feel like they have to go out there and work because they can't trust a man to provide for them. Secondly, if he does provide for her, it's not because he wants to provide for her, it's because he wants to use it as a form of abuse and manipulate her and control her and etc. Now, it goes against exactly what the Prophet ﷺ was upon and his companions. So I think this issue of what constitutes a real man, I think that a podcast needs to be done on that as well.
We kind of spoke a bit about it in the last episode. Remember when we talked about characteristics of a righteous husband?
I don't think we've given it justice. I've got a lot to say, wallahi. I've got a lot to tell the brothers on this issue. And it's not just brothers as well. I myself, when I look at these qualities, there's a lot of things that are missing from us. So it's something, inshallah ta'ala, all of us can learn from and improve in our lives, inshallah ta'ala. So what I want, inshallah ta'ala, to be mentioned and spoken about here is that the reality of Tarbiyat al-Awlad, which I spoke about, the importance of Tarbiyat al-Awlad, I spoke about it, the different places Tarbiyat al-Awlad enters. That's not restricted to the physical side only. I also spoke about which is a point I want to speak about now because we're just about to reach our destination, is who are the people or the organizations who should be helping with Tarbiyatul Awlad.
Okay.
Now, when we look at those days, the past, the Tarbiyatul Awlad was done by the masajids.
Okay.
They were helping in the Tarbiyatul Awlad. Now, wallahi, sad, and I think this is, inshallah ta'ala, maybe something should be said about it, which is masajid don't let children and parents bring their children to the masajids.
That's right, yeah.
And countries like the West, where am I going to take my child then?
If it's not in the masjid, it's out on the streets.
And Shahid, you know what's sad as well, subhanAllah, because even my durus right now, when I went back to the UK and I was giving my durus, I was so happy to see kids running around. Personally, I find that as a good sign.
Okay.
And going to masajids, for example, run by the youths. One of the masajids I went to the UK,
really?
Was run by youths, was Kilburn Masjid,
Okay.
Sheikh Jamal's Masjid. It was run by youth. I was really impressed with that. To see a masjid run by youth, that's rare.
Yeah.
The youths are not in the masjid. So if they're not in the masjid, where are they?
They're out on the streets. They're out to
Which is what I want to talk about later. How do we do Tarbiyatul Awlad, which is giving them responsibilities and all of that. We're going to come to that. Practical steps, inshallah, we're going to come to that. Bi-idhnillahi al-kareem, inshallah ta'ala. Also, what should help towards Tarbiyatul Awlad was the community, starting from your neighbors. Back in the days, wallahi, My parents would say to me, I haven't seen it because I was raised in the UK,
Yeah.
but they would say that if we went out and we did something wrong and anyone saw us, it was like it was our uncle. He would like correct us, he would tell us off, he would say, who's your mother's name? I'm gonna get you in trouble. And the child was nurtured by the society, the community. Arafat?
Yeah.
He was told off, he was disciplined, he was corrected by everybody. So this helped towards the tarbiyah of your children.
Now we can't do that anymore.
No one does that. No one cares.
Well,
People,
some of the governments won't allow you to do it because a child will be like, I'm just calling child services. Oh, you abused me. See, they literally can't do it anymore. But yeah, it's a problem. Which I think the government is another thing that maybe used to. I don't know if it ever used to help with the tarbiyah of a child.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You know what's really funny? I want to mention. Our history teacher in secondary school, I remember, subhanAllah, he was a white kafir guy.
Yeah.
His name was David. He actually made me love history a lot. The guy knew how to talk about history. He spoke about history on another level. It was like it was my best subject.
Okay.
The way he used to teach us. But every class, he would talk about how Britain was before, in the sense where he's talking, because he was a bit old in age.
Right.
He would talk about how he used to get beaten and disciplined. He goes, when those days were there. He'd always mention it. Those days were the days where you kids wouldn't be misbehaving yourselves. He would mention it nearly every class. Yeah, and even he realized how important disciplining is and how it has an effect on the child. But the point I'm saying is that the teachers would discipline your children for you.
Yeah.
The children would. The teachers would, sorry.
Society would.
Society would. Because other children were good, because the environment was good, your children would be in an environment of other kids who were good, well behaved. So you're being helped from many angles.
Yeah.
But now, brothers and sisters, that's not there anymore.
Now it's not just a case where it's actually just not there anymore, so it's neutral. It's actually these same things have become enemies. Now the society now is not only just not raising your child, but it's actually becoming an enemy and actually raising it the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You're fighting these things that used to help you, and you're now fighting them.
Now I'll add on to that,
Go on.
which is something I'm going to speak about later, which is something that makes it even worse, which is social media.
Yeah. Oh, this definitely is.
Because, this one we have to do a whole entire podcast on it, on social media and how can we use it, and the pros and the cons of social media. Lakin shahid, this is also affecting our children. Our children are learning how to walk, how to talk from social media. A boy who hasn't left his house, a girl who hasn't left her house, is telling you, subhanallah, information. You're like, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You see? So inshallah ta'ala, now that we've reached our destination, these are the points I wanted to inshallah mention. And then on the way back, inshallah ta'ala.
Definitely want to go into that more detail. I want to talk about technology, I want to talk about social media, because this really is an episode for the parents. So it's about what they can do, should they control it, how much they control it. So all of these practical steps we're going to talk about, we're just whizzing through the framework and giving
these are the frameworks now, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. We'll carry on in the next journey, inshallah. Okay, so we're back on the road, and Ustad Uthman, if you remind me where we left it off last time, inshallah.
So we spoke about the type of things that help you do tarbiyah of your children. The parents is one thing, the masajids, your neighbors, and etc. That's what we mentioned in our last session.
Yeah.
Now I want to speak about how does Islam urge us when it comes to our children.
Okay.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Qur'an, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O those of you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum, yani protect yourselves, wa ahlikum, and your families, from the hellfire. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Protect them from the hellfire. So this is like a command from Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. He's commanding us subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect ourselves first, and our children. And this is powerful, because to be a good parent, you first have to rectify yourself, which is inshallah ta'ala I want to speak about ways that you do tarbiyah. One of them inshallah ta'ala is by setting an example for your children. يعني التأسي. Children follow you in what you do, how you conduct yourself, and the dealings that you have. Okay? They look at that, they observe it, and they literally imitate you and follow you in these things. And then Allah says your family. So that's one verse. Another verse, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Command your family the prayer, the salah. Command them, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ. You instruct your family about the prayer. Because after shahadatain, after ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, salah comes. It's next in line. And as a parent, you need to be commanding your children in salah. Also Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He says, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Allah gives you a wasiyah regarding your children. Wasiyah, farewell, regarding your children. Okay? Also Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He says in the Qur'an, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Oh Allah, provide us. This is the dua of the righteous people. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا. Oh Allah, provide for us from our wives and our children, مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا, and our progeny, قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ, that which our hearts and our eyes find warmth in it.
Yeah.
وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And there are many verses in the Qur'an where Allah talks about the children. Then you have the ayah, the hadith in Sahihain, in Bukhari and Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. فَالرَّجُلُ رَاعٍ وَهُوَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَاعِيَةٌ فِي بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا وَهِيَ مَسْئُولَةٌ عَنْهَا. The Prophet said, every single one of you is a shepherd. And you'll be asked about your flocks of sheep. You're going to be asked about those who you've been placed responsible over. The man is responsible and he will be questioned Yawm al-Qiyamah about his wife and his children. And the woman, she's also going to be questioned about her husband's house. And she's going to be questioned about her children. What has she done and what has she not done? She'll be questioned. Wallahi, back in the days, people used to, just yesterday I was talking to a family member, and we were talking about the differences between the young generation and the older generation. What contrast do you see? What differences do you see in us and you guys? He said to me, the difference I see is you guys are an example, or you, the younger generation who's now were born and bred in the West, have shown us that life is not as we used to think it was. And I said, what is it? What did it used to be? He said, we believe that if a child is born, and you don't have to do anything, he will come back to you because he knows you're the father.
Right.
Just let him be. He said, that's something we believed as the older generation. A father might not even see his son ever, but one way or another the child will look for his father.
Allah.
He said that's how we were brought up, and that's what we believed. But he said when we came to the West, we didn't realize that mindset doesn't work here. No, it shouldn't have worked anywhere. I said, uncle, there or then, or here or that, it doesn't matter. It should not in any way, shape or form have been the case. Where is the hadith? كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. You're going to be questioned. How can you just flock them somewhere?
Yeah.
He said that's just the ignorance that we had. There's a hadith في الصحيحين من حديث معقل ibn Yasar. There's a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, Shahid. This hadith scares me a lot personally. Whenever I look at it, it reminds me a lot how important it is when I raise my children. The Prophet said, مَا مِنْ عَبْدٍ يَسْتَرْعِي لَهُ الرَّعِيَّةِ, that there is not a person Allah places upon them responsibilities. وَهُوَ غَاشٌ لِلرَّعِيَّةِ, and he forsakes that responsibility. He comes Yawm al-Qiyamah and he hasn't done what was upon him. إِلَّا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ, except Jannah is haram from them.
Allah.
That scares me, wallahi. That hadith scared me a lot. That when you come Yawm al-Qiyamah, if you have forsaken the rights of your parents, the rights of your children, the rights of your wife, the rights of your neighbors, the rights of your Muslim brothers, you will come, this hadith is dangerous. It's scary. Scary. So this hadith shows, and all the other evidences I brought, it shows how Islam gives importance to the nurturing and the cultivation of the children. That you nurture them and you cultivate them accurately.
Yeah, I think that needs to be split up as a separate segment, and it's just brought all of the ayat, the hadith, that shows how important this topic is. This is not something that we're just talking about just leisurely, casually. This is something that affects every single one of us who have children. And it's something that's really, really important. I want to go back to the ayah that you mentioned, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. When Allah says qu anfusakum first, and you touched on this, it shows the importance of the parent correcting themselves first. It's not a case that the parent himself is lackadaisical about his religion, but once he has a child, he sends a child to madrasa and he wants him to become a hafid or hafida, and themselves, they're not making any effort in the deen. Because like you said, the children they actually look to their parents and they just imitate them.
Yeah.
You can say one thing, but actually your actions will have more of an impact on your child. And I think I've heard stories of how fathers will say one thing, but they'll do something and the child will just automatically imitate them.
You know what happened, subhanAllah, I went to Egypt to seek knowledge, and my mother also came. And my mother enrolled in the Arabic program that we were doing.
MashaAllah, Allahumma barik.
Okay, if I tell you this, wallahi, my mother actually finished the whole entire Arabic program from the first class to the last, akhi.
Allahu Akbar.
She went through every single class. She passed first level, then second level, then third level, and then that back then, I'm talking about over 15 years ago. It was the best markaz at that time when it came to learning and studying. A lot of people would go to was Markaz Al-Fajr.
Okay.
Al-Fajr was the best in Egypt at that time. And I don't know now, that's why. So Markaz Al-Fajr, I went to it, my younger brother went, and my mother went as well. And I stopped when I finished the Markaz, the levels that were needed from me. My mother went on to doing the extra levels you don't even need to do.
Allahu Akbar.
And I was shocked because I would leave in the morning and I'd see my mum reading.
So what kind of impact did that have on you as a child?
It was really positive.
Yeah.
Because then my mother used to have she convinced her friends to go to the markaz with her as well. She encouraged them. So a few of them actually went with her to the institute to study. And what happened was, my mum would, every day she would request for me to sit down and teach her friends. And that was the first class I actually taught.
Allahu Akbar.
The first class I ever taught was my mother and her friends. And I remember, wallah, I used to teach them al-mubtada, marfu' wa alam, and I used to teach them. And then I'll divide the types of mubtada, the types of khabar, all of this was not the types of mubtada, but the types of khabar. I would mention the different types of sentences. And if they didn't understand, these are mothers, right? These aunties, if they didn't understand, they're going to tell you, I don't know how you're talking, I'll explain it again. And because my Somali wasn't their best, there was that barrier. It wasn't the best. So it was hard to explain these sophisticated points to them.
MashaAllah.
They would push me to it, and I learnt, subhanallah, from their teaching skills.
And some parents who might be watching this, they might actually need this. They might have actually not been practicing the religion like they would have liked to, but then as soon as they have a child, they think, okay, now I need to take it more seriously. I'm going through something similar with my daughter. My daughter is 1 year old now, mashallah. I haven't memorized the Qur'an. So how can I tell my daughter to memorize the Qur'an when she's going to look at me and say, Daddy, you haven't done it. Why am I going to do it? So this is more of a motivation for me now to prioritize my memorization and increase in my memorization.
And you know, wallahi, I want to say something. If it happens that you didn't memorize the Qur'an, but she sees you trying, Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the fact that you're trying and you're not taking it lightly, and that you're going out of your way to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
التأسي.
Yeah, it's very important, very important. There's one more hadith that I want to mention, which is not more of a command. I think you brought a lot of evidences that show that this is an obligation upon us, really. But there's one more hadith just more out of encouragement more than anything else. When the Prophet ﷺ said, when a person dies, all of his deeds are cut off except for 3 things. And from one of those 3 things is waladun salih yad'u lah. The fact that a righteous child making dua for you can actually benefit you even after you're dead. That's a huge motivation for all of us to really focus on our children and make them righteous and make them people that will make dua for us.
Allahu Akbar. Wallah, it's powerful. يعني إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا من 3. That if a person dies, his actions will come to an end. You will stop accumulating righteous deeds unless you have come with what? One of these 3, unless you have it.
Yes.
And from them is waladun salihun yad'u lah, a righteous child.
And another is knowledge you've left behind. So when you're teaching your children, when you're teaching your children knowledge, that's also something that you've left behind.
Sadaqatun jariyah.
That's right. That's right.
You know what's also said by the Prophet ﷺ is كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُضَيِّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ. Enough for you a sin is that you forsake those you are responsible over.
Wow. That's scary. The one that you mentioned as well about haram Allahu Jannah, the one that Allah will make Jannah haram for. That's so scary. Wallahi, that's really, really scary. I've not heard that before.
Yeah, and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, مُرُّوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ سَبْعٍ. يعني, command your children the prayer when they're 7. وَاضْرِبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ 10. And when they reach 10, discipline them on it. Discipline them if they don't pray.
Yeah.
صح. وَفَرِّقُوهُمْ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ, and separate them in the house, in the bed. Not the house, sorry, in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
The boys and the girls can't sleep together. You see?
From 10?
Yeah, from the age of 10 onwards. Some kids, actually, to be honest, they actually are quick in the observation.
Mm-hmm.
They can sense them certain things, so maybe earlier might be for some of those kids, but generally speaking, from the age of 10 onwards, the child is they're separate. The boys and girls can't sleep together. Wallahi, this is, the more you think about it, these things that we don't do have us if we don't do these things, has a negative effect on our children.
Yeah.
We're seeing today stories of siblings being very intimate with one another, people fighting for that. Why? Because of this. Because of these practices that started at a very young age between the siblings, and they grew up in that way. Sah?
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous. I remember, subhanallah, what do you call it? A case where a sister was very in love with her own brother. And she said it started when we were very young. We used to sleep together, we used to eat together, we used to... Well, when you're in da'wah and you see problems from the community and everything, you start to appreciate these ahadiths. It becomes a reality for you.
Yeah.
It wakes you up. You say, this was so easy to solve. These issues they were so easy to avoid if we just did this. And it's now hard to resolve because these guidelines weren't followed. For another example is that one of the things when it comes to your household and your family is that you don't free mix with other opposite genders. You should not free mix. It's one of the bad tarbiyah that people bring to their houses. Any individual can come to the house. Any man can come into your children's house. Never. No one should be in the house unless you're there under your supervision. It doesn't matter how righteous that person is. It doesn't matter how noble that person is. In no circumstances can we trust anybody to be in the house with our children. And you're finding, subhanAllah, young girls, 7, 8, 9, 10, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, being molested by an uncle. Shahid, It's an uncle, which your father's brother's cousin's uncle. What on earth? Where does he come?
Yeah.
He's an uncle.
You're just an uncle, yeah.
Yeah.
Now this shows, and I think now people are becoming, because of the sick world that we live in, people are now becoming more familiar with these kind of things. But the Sunnah 1400 years ago provided solutions to these things.
Yeah.
And that's why Islam is so comprehensive. In the same hadith you mentioned, it's talking about the salah, and it's also talking about separating them from the beds. It's not just a case that the Islam is going to come and tell you how to do your ritualistic acts of worship. It's actually more comprehensive than that, and it's going to give you guidelines on how to govern everything.
So now I want to mention, how do we do tarbiyah of the children? So I'm going to give few things that we need to do. The first one, we mentioned it before, we touched on it. Number one is ikhtiyar az-zawjat as-salihah, choosing a righteous wife, and the wife, the sister, choosing a righteous husband.
Mm-hmm.
Many people dismiss this or kind of forget it. Tarbiyah starts from the man that you choose, sister. Brother, tarbiyah starts from the woman you choose. And alhamdulillah, I think we covered that in our two previous Abri Sabil sessions. We spoke about it, which is this person that you're going to have children with, is this person a person you can trust your children with? From what perspective? Can he be a good impact on your children's life? An apple doesn't fall far from a tree, as they say.
Yeah.
Children mimic and imitate their parents. They follow their mother and they follow their father, step by step. The parents are the first teachers of this child. So the first thing you need to do is, sister, don't choose the guy based on your desire. Choose him based on qualities. Don't choose him because you saw him on TikTok and he looked good, or you saw him on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or no, based qualities. Look at the quality that this man possesses. Is he going to be taking care of you financially? Is he going to take care of your children? Is he going to have tarbiyah? Is he going to give them good tarbiyah? Sister, you have to look at that. Number two, brother, look at this woman that you're going to make the mother of your children. Can you trust her with your children? If you can't trust this woman with an egg, why would you trust her with your children? Araft?
Yeah.
So select the right person.
Very important.
And that's why the Prophet said in the hadith, إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَّن تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If a person who has akhlaq and has religion comes to you, the Prophet said, marry them off. So sister, a brother approaches you, he has Islam, he's got religion, and he's also got good manners. The Prophet said, فَزَوِّجُوهُ, marry him off. Yani the parents, the guardians, marry this man off to this girl now. And of course she wants it as well.
Yeah.
The Prophet said, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, if you don't do this, تَكُنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فِتْنَةٌ وَفَسَادٌ عَرِيضٌ, there's going to be a big calamity on this earth. Now there's some scholars who weaken the hadith. There is discussions, pull and push on the discussion of the authentication of the hadith, even though I lean towards the authentication of the hadith, but the meaning without a shadow of a doubt is right.
Yeah. Also
the Prophet did say, and we spoke about this in great details in our previous podcast, تنكح المرأة لأربع. A woman is married for one of four reasons: لمالها ولجمالها ولحسبها ولدينها فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. A woman is married for either her beauty, she's also either married for her lineage, she's married either for her wealth, or she's married for her religion. The Prophet then said, hasten towards religion. فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. May your hands be dusted. So when you're choosing a woman, Shahid, you have to choose her based on religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
If a sister wants to, and manners as well. The same with the brother, same with the sister. When she's choosing a brother, let it be for religious reasons and mannerism, and everything else let it follow after that if you want. If you want looks, money and everything, you can. But make these two your first priority, of course. Okay? That's the first way to do tarbiyah, of who you selected. Number two, which is way to do tarbiyah, ad-du'a. A lot of people,
Yeah,
They actually don't- they
they
forget
forget
this.
this. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's true.
we took the ayah before, ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. يعني make a dua for your children. And the dua of the mother and the father, subhanallah.
Yeah.
The Prophet said ثلاثة, 3. دعاؤهم لا ترد. Their dua is not rejected. 3 types of people, when they supplicate and they make dua, it's never rejected. You know from the 3 is والد لولدها.
Wow.
والد, I'm a walidah, a mother, or a walid, a father, towards their child.
Wow.
The dua is not rejected. And I saw, subhanallah, some parents who thought their children are gone, they've lost it, they're on the streets selling drugs. The mother will stand up at night, qiyamul layl, cry to Allah, beg Allah. And one brother once said to me, Wallahi akhi, do you know what made me change? I woke up one night, I was going to go out with my boys, I was going to go and club, and I woke up and I heard my mother making dua in salah.
Allah.
I went into the room, she was crying.
Wow.
I said, Mom, what are you doing? She said, Mom, I'm making dua for you. He said, I stopped what I was doing.
Allah.
The brother goes to Islamic University, or not Medina, the Jami'ah Saud.
Wow. Allah
Telling
Akbar.
them
Full 180 from his previous life.
Exactly.
Wow.
People don't actually understand the dua of the mother and the father, especially the mother. It's very powerful.
There's one example from your childhood, which I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but you told me this before, that whenever your father used to get angry at you, he used to say, Allahu yarda alayk,
Yeah,
which means, oh, may Allah be pleased with you.
it's true.
Even that kind of dua
It's
is
very
a dua.
good.
Yeah,
Allah is
amazing.
a very good dua.
Yeah.
Even when we get angry, the things that we should teach our tongues is dua towards the children, because you never know when that dua is going to be accepted.
That's right. That's right.
The third one is tasmiyah عند الجماع. Shahid, when you're having sexual intercourse with your partner, you remember Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that if a person, when he wants to come to his family and he wants to have sexual intercourse, he says, Bismillah, Allahumma jannibna ash-shaytan wa jannib ash-shaytana mimma razaqtana. The Prophet then said in the hadith, فَإِن رَزَقَ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا وَلَدْ. If Allah gives them a child from that sexual intercourse they just had, فَلَنْ يَضُرَّهُ الشَّيْطَانُ. Shaitan will not harm them.
Wow.
Isn't that the biggest enemy we have out there?
Yeah.
Who's causing us to do so many bad things? Who made a promise, لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُم مِّن بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. Is he not the one who said that? He is. Iblis, alayhi la'inullah. He is the one who's now not going to be able to harm your child. From the day that child came, you protected him. Don't be a person who forgets that. And you know, Shahid, wallahi, this shows a person's Islam. It shows a person's what? It shows a person their Islam. That they remember Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala at times normally when humans don't.
It's very true. Very true.
Like when you're hungry and you're eating, say Bismillah.
Yeah.
Generally your mind's preoccupied with the food. And
Yeah.
to remember Allah, to say Bismillah when you're having sexual intercourse with your spouse. And it shows that you have a good connection with Allah, right?
It's very true. Very true.
Yeah, it's a reflection of you being a righteous person, right?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of us don't remember these things. We forget these things. We don't make these du'as. And these are things that can help us in the course of our child's upbringing and his tarbiyah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what's so profound is that it shows how early the tarbiyah starts. Many people in your position as an imam and a religious figure, many people might come to you when their kid is at 15, 16 years old and say, Sheikh, I need some advice, my child is struggling, what do I do? not realizing that this starts all the way before you're even thinking about having children. Is when you're actually choosing your spouse. How profound is that? And all the way, even you have to correct yourself, you have to work on yourself. As the Arabs say, فَقْدُ شَيْءٍ لَا يُعْطِيهِ. The one who hasn't got something, he can't give it. So if you yourself are not religiously upright and steadfast, how are you going to raise children like that? And then even before you have intercourse, and we haven't even got to the birth of the child yet, and that we've been speaking for about 10-15 minutes about what a parent can do to raise a righteous child.
The next one is, the way to do Tarbiyat al-Awlad is being present at their times of good and the times of when they're low. Being present.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they're not there when the child is going through their goods and their hard times.
Yeah. And if you're not, the child will find someone else. They'll find someone else to replace you.
I remember, I think I said this before, I would sometimes go to my siblings' house and I would see things which were mahdurat, things that are not allowed, like things I don't like, which television and children playing on gadgets and things like that, which I don't like. So when I go, I start telling my siblings, what is this? Stop this, it's not good for your child. Protect your child from all of this. What are you doing to him? Okay, why isn't your child memorized a lot of Qur'an? Why? So one of my sisters once said to me, why do you always come into the house and start policing us? You just kick down the door? No, not literally, I don't kick the door down.
Yeah.
But you come storming into the house and straight away you want to say, this is wrong, no one should do this, this is right, it should be done. Look, you're not here in our lives.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I've got a similar experience. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. 100%.
It's like the only time you come in, like if you were there, like, you know, you're asking, calling them, how you doing, how's everything, visiting them, they're much more likely to take advice from you.
Yes. Or even the days that she's down and she needs help. I'm like, do you want me to help you? Do you want me to do something for you? Call her up. See how she's doing. So through my dealings with my siblings, I've just learned the way that my children will be like as well.
Yeah, good point.
That my children are going to be the same. They're going to say, why are you always interested to tell us what to do and what not to do? But you're never there to help us through our struggles.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And one thing I always say to my mum is, Mum, parenting doesn't stop. There's not a level.
Yeah.
You're always a parent even when your child's got 10 kids.
That's right, yeah.
You're still a parent. You still have to
yeah.
parent your child. Say, don't do this, you're not advised. Else also, stand beside him and, help him and guide him and, not just telling him what to do and what not to do, but also to help him do it. Like, what do you want me to do with you? Should I help you on that? Okay, let me help you on this. Parenting doesn't stop at a certain age. And a lot of parents, when the child's at a certain age, they just stop parenting. And they say, look, I've raised you, I've done my part. Now, you just have to take care of me. And
no, it's a lifelong commitment.
You brought these children into this world. Of course, in every stage of their life, your parenting is not going to be the same. When they've got their kids and they made their own family, your parenting is not going to be when they were toddlers and when they were young adults. It's not going to be the same, but there is a certain level of parenting that's needed from you as well. No.
Yeah, it's interesting you made that point about how it needs to be different depending on the different stages of their life. I'm not sure. I think this might be hadith, or it might just be a wise saying. I'm not sure, but I've heard of something along the lines of between the ages of 0 to 7, just play with your child. From the age of 7 to 14, discipline them, and from the age of 14 to 21, be their friend. Is that right? Have you heard something similar?
I haven't come across anyone who said it, but that's a belief I always say, that these are the 3 stages of the child's life. Like when the child is from the age of I push it a bit higher than 7. I say to the age of maybe 14.
Yeah.
From the birth to 14, I'm telling you what to do and you just do what I tell you to do. But 14 onwards,
Yeah, 0 to 7 was playing with them. 7 to 14 was discipline them.
But for me, it's
0 to 14 is discipline.
yeah, not just disciplining them, but it's more like I told you to do this, just do it. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
Or don't ask any questions.
Don't ask too many, and then turn into don't ask any. Yeah.
But 14 onwards, I'll explain things to you.
Okay.
Don't do this.
Yeah.
Do you know why I said don't do this? No. Do you agree with me? No. So we discuss things. Why? What's the reason you don't agree? I want him to think. I don't want him to just be robotic. I don't want him to do it.
Yeah.
So that's 14 to the age of 21.
Yeah.
We're discussing things, but I have the final say as a parent. From 21 onwards, you're an adult.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
be there for them still. Of course, like we said, it's a lifelong commitment.
Everything's advised to you. I'm gonna advise you. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm gonna advise you. I'm a nasih. I'll be a sincere advisor to you. And you make the decision, because what I did was, by then, inshallah, I hope so, is that I've nurtured you to a level where you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents who still tell their children off at the age of 21, 23, 24 and controlling them are the ones who didn't do the job when they were young. They miss all of those levels.
Very true.
And they're trying to catch up with that time now, which is not going to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I always say to the missus, I always say to them, I always say to her, these children, wherever you want to teach them, teach it to them before they have any choice. Before my daughter reaches her menses, she should have memorized the Qur'an. Why am I going to wait for that time that she reaches there where she starts saying, I can't do this, I don't want to do it, I'm not in the mood?
Take advantage of that time.
Yeah, take advantage of it. I beat you to it.
Yeah.
Dad, you already memorized the Qur'an. I'm sorry, I did it to you. I made you memorize the Qur'an. Khalas. It's just, what I realized? Time is not what we value, and so we waste a lot of time in our own lives, and we do that to our children. And when we wake up, it's quite late now. You're a bit late now.
Yeah, it's too late. Too little, too late.
Another thing I feel like when it comes to Tarbiyat al-Awlad is don't raise your children near fear. Don't raise your children on just fear. And sometimes, subhanAllah, parents, sometimes they nurture their children upon excessive fear. They mention stories about this monster and the child's scared of the dark. This is bad tarbiyah.
Yeah.
It's a deficiency in the parent. Or things like that, where the child is very scared, which can create paranoia, anxieties, and etc.
And it can even reach a level where they're starting to fear something other than Allah, to the level that they should only fear Allah, which is extremely dangerous.
It's so true.
But I like what you said about explaining to the kids. Like you said, from age 14, you explain to them, and this is very important, because in my culture, and I know we always talk about Pakistani culture, Somali culture, but in my culture, I think that's
the only two we know, right?
Yeah, I know, but it always seems to come up in this car. But I think in my culture, it seems to happen a lot, from what I've seen, where the child is just told something without being explained why. It's just, this halal, this haram, this haram, don't do this, don't do that. And the child doesn't know why he's doing it. And then it doesn't really create a connection with the religion.
Or you're being disciplined and you don't know what on earth you're being disciplined to.
You don't even know what you did.
Yeah, because you did a lot of things, you messed up so many things. So is it this one? Was it yesterday's one? Was it what I did 2 hours ago? Which one? I want to know. So the kid doesn't know which one it is. And that's why the kid leaves thinking, you just enjoy hitting me. You just enjoy disciplining me.
Yeah, because there's no reasoning explaining
now.
it.
Now, another thing, Shahid, is, which is I think is one of the greatest important points. I actually really learned that when I went back to the UK. Now,
really?
my younger sister said this to me. Yeah. I like to learn from even my siblings, my younger siblings, and everything. And my sister said to me, Abdurrahman, if you base your relationship on something. When that something goes, you don't have no relationship with that person.
Wow. Wow, that's very profound. That's
So
very
if your
profound.
relationship with me is fear, once I'm not scared of you anymore, there is no relationship between me and you. And I was taken back by that statement of hers.
That's true.
I'm 10 years older than my sister.
But still, she benefited you.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good point. If you base the relationship of your children on one or two things, and that's it. Don't ever think to yourself that you have a relationship with that child. You don't. And you'll realize that when all of that goes and it's been eliminated, you have no relationship with that child.
Yeah.
You have no relationship. Build your child's relationship on the following: fear, hope, and love.
Just like the relationship with
Allah.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Definitely Allah is always
Of course.
higher. Your child should fear the consequences of his wrong. If he does something wrong, he should be scared. He should hope that inshallah ta'ala when he's good and there's always gifts. Yani, and there's also love. He sees in you. Look, you see, I'll tell you something, Shahid. You know when someone tells you off, but you know in their eyes and in their heart and their mind it's out of love. It's different when you see the person telling you off and they're just frustrated because they didn't have a good day at work.
That's so true. That's very true. That's a very good
You can
point.
always tell, even when you're being told off by a certain person, that it's out of love. It's out of love they have for you.
And children can sense these things as well.
Of
Sometimes we
course.
don't realize how sensitive children are. You know, we just think they're young and they're not going to remember, but they can actually sense these kind of things.
And the disciplining sometimes from some parents is based on how they feel that day.
SubhanAllah.
So if the father and the mother had a conflict between the two of them, the mother is frustrated that day, she's going to let it out on the kids.
That's sad.
Name call them and ridicule them, and sometimes, Shahid, wallahi, this is the sad reality, I'll tell you this. That when the woman, for example, may even go separate ways with the father, she'll always diss the children, especially the one that looks the most like the father.
That's really sad.
It's realities. He gets name called, ridiculed, belittled, like he did a crime, like he did something wrong to her. And then look what happens. Or sometimes the father comes from work and he's had a bad day, or he's tired, or he's exhausted, or he's hungry, and his daughter comes and says, Dad, look, I drew this garden for you. Just rips it out of her hand, just walks by her, just leave me alone, I'm tired, what are you doing? And I'll tell you this, these things stick with the child. These things will stick with the child will not forget.
Yeah.
So I remember, subhanAllah, my daughter, when she was 3 years old, she drew something, she scribbled something. My oldest daughter. She gave it to me. She said, Dad, this is yours. I took it and I put it in a bag, one of my bags that I used to carry. So in the side I put it in, and all my books would be in there when I go dars. But I'd have that. And it was a picture of a tree and a garden, and it was just landscape and the sun. It was basic. When a 3-year-old would scribble.
Yeah.
The other day I showed it to my daughter. I said, look, Dad, this is your picture.
Allahu Akbar.
Wallahi,
How old is your daughter now?
She's
How many
9
years later?
now.
Wow, 6 years later.
She enjoyed seeing it. I could see in her face. She's like, it's me. I was like, yeah, this was you.
SubhanAllah.
Because she drew something recently, and now she's drawing this one. So I'm like, let's compare the two. And that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
For her, it was like, you still have it.
Yeah, you kept that all that time. Wow, it's beautiful,
For a
mashallah.
9-year-old to realize that. So the thing, even I learn from my children. Parents don't understand. You learn from your children as well. Like Shahid, you actually learn from them. Is their reaction to certain things that I say and do. Something I do, my children say, Dad doesn't love us. I'm like, what did I say for them to think that?
Yeah.
What did I do for them to question my love? And some things I do, they overreact and say, Dad loves us a lot. What did I do for them to think that now? You understand what I mean?
Yeah, it's very
So
true.
you have to be very careful in the way that you are towards your children now.
SubhanAllah. We're coming up to our destination, so what we'll do is we'll carry on, inshallah, on another journey, inshallah. Is that okay? Okay, so we're back on the road and we're talking about the different ways that parents can do tarbiyah of their children. What do you want to speak about next, inshallah?
So one of the things I feel like parents do when it comes to Tarbiyatul Awlad is they belittle the child in front of his other siblings. That's not a good thing. Especially if he's the oldest one, which is the majority of the times, the oldest one is told off the most.
Right.
Because the parents generally discipline the oldest one, and sometimes they get tired when the rest come. You know, you tend to find this, Shahid. People's energy is so high at the beginning, and then it weakens. And so the children to come, they actually get disciplined by either the older one or somebody else.
But
the parents are tired.
Older sibling adopts the role of a kind of parent.
Yeah, he's really disciplined. He's controlled. He's really taught what he or she can or can't do. So, the oldest one gets name calling. Look at this ghabi. Look at this majnoon. Wallah, you're ahmaq. These bad things are said to him. So later he can't have any positive influence on his siblings, because they see him as like the dumb one.
Right, yeah, because the parents have belittled him in the eyes of the rest of the siblings. And actually the parents need him because there's going to be a point where the older one is going to be consulted about family decisions and things like that.
And this is where also the other extreme happens as well, Shahid, which is the child is basically raised and is put higher than his actual status, and he's put up so much because the parents somehow they have a soft spot for him. The others are always like, which is tahqiq al-adli bayn al-Awlad, being just between the children.
Very important.
They're very important, Shahid. Some parents, they create animosity between the siblings. Brothers and sisters don't like each other because of their mother. She's always honoring this one, she's raising this one,
right.
She's praising this one, she's saying things about this one. وهكذا.
It's very true.
And this is something we need to like really understand.
Yeah, normally you have this child that can do no wrong in the eyes of the parents, and they always get away with stuff that the other siblings can't. And it's not from justice. From justice, whether it's the firstborn, because normally the firstborn has a bit of a special treatment because it's the first child, or sometimes it's the youngest sibling because it's the youngest of the family and things like that. But yeah, it's very important to be just between all of the children.
Another thing that you tend to find is that the child is made to lie in two ways. Number one, the parents would genuinely say to the child, he picks up the phone in the house landline, and his mother is like, say I'm not here.
Okay, yeah.
Say I'm not here. I'll tell you a story. A kid was one day said to say that to the person.
Yeah.
And his mother said, say it. Say I'm not here. She whispered it. The kid goes, Mum's not here. And then they said, when is she going to come? Mum, when are you going to come?
I thought you were going to say the kid said, my mum just said she's not here, or something like that.
Yeah.
My mum said she's not here.
Do you see the point?
Yeah.
Now you say, why are you lying to me? You taught him how to lie.
Right, that's very true. That's very true. Kids are like a blank slate.
Look how innocent this kid was. He said, Mum, when time are you going to come? And the second thing is, the child is beaten even if he's telling the truth. So he lies. He just learns to say what the mother needs to hear. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. So he maybe didn't do something. Parent will beat him up or discipline him. Child shouldn't be beaten up anyways. But disciplining the child.
Yeah.
The parent will discipline the child, and the child will feel he is
lying is better than this.
He will lie just so he can get out of all of this.
Yeah.
Because when he lies, he gets away with it.
Yeah.
When he tells you the truth, you always beat him up.
Very true.
Does that make sense?
I remember Sheikh Muhammad Tim Humble, may Allah preserve him, he once told me that with his kids, if they do something wrong, if they tell the truth,
they get forgiven.
There's no punishment. Yeah.
Me too, same thing.
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
very good. Because now you're encouraging honesty. You're actually rewarding honesty.
So I said to you, you got 5 minutes. This is what I say all that. You got the first 5 minutes. Think about what you're going to say and tell me the truth. And I promise you, there's no consequences. I'll just talk to you about it. So he goes, Dad, okay, I'm going to tell the truth. That's all I want to hear. If I find out that you're lying, so he'll tell the truth. He'll say, I did it, but it was accident.
Yeah.
No problem. Another thing is it fair for a child to be disciplined for being a child?
Yeah. I
Like
know what you mean.
he broke a glass. He was
Yeah.
playing. Why does he get beaten up for all that? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Or he, punched his brother in the stomach because he was playing. They were playing that game.
But if you don't discipline, some parents might say if you don't do that, then you're kind of approving that behavior.
No, tell him off.
Oh, okay.
Say, don't do this to your brother.
Yeah. Okay. You're talking about physically discipline.
Not even that. Just shouting down the
right.
throat of that child, and
There needs to be a certain level of rahmah with the parents of the children. There needs to be a certain level
and not even you have to
forgiveness
learn
and
where is the child wrong or where isn't he. Some things you just have to add it to the category of. In our house, funny enough, we've got this. There's a called akhta' bashari. They call it, which is a basic human mistake.
mistakes, yeah.
And there's akhta' which is muta'ammad. متعمد تعمدته. You intentionally done it, brother.
Yeah.
Do you understand my point?
Yeah.
You did it. You deliberately did it. This wasn't a genuine mistake. But when kids play with each other, they get carried away sometimes. You just have to say, look, bro, don't beat up your brother like that.
Sometimes a child might actually want to do something really good. For example, a child wants to, I don't know, wash the dishes, and they break a plate as they're washing the dishes.
Yeah.
It's a good action there what they're doing. It's a good intention is good. They're just a child. They broke a plate, and because they get told off for that, now they're not just going to think, I'm never going to help you out anymore.
Yeah, I remember I did that to a television screen.
You did that
And a
to
computer screen.
You, when you were younger?
Yeah, I put water in. I was trying to wash it. My mum beat me up.
You poured water on it?
Yeah, I was literally a whole bucket of water.
Yeah. Allahu Akbar.
And
yeah.
I thought it was going to get clean from inside and outside.
Okay. Yes, you had good intentions.
That I should be rewarded for that, right?
I'm not sure about rewarded, but there shouldn't be a punishment. But I mean, yeah, you should be said that's good. Just explained. I think just explained. Just said, okay, it's very good what you're trying to do.
My intentions should be rewarded.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. But what do you mean by reward? Like just with verbal reward? Like that's very good what you're doing, well done?
Yeah, anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if you explain that's very good what you're doing, it's good. But TV, you can't pour water down in TV.
Yeah, the child didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought water cleans.
Yeah.
I didn't know electricity and water come together. They explode. Another thing, example, that تربية الأولاد. Boy's nature is different from a girl's nature.
Mm-hmm.
You get a toys for a boy and he breaks it straight away. That's fine.
But now, where's the justice now? Because now you're letting the boy get away with something that the girl can't get away with.
But it's not the nature of a girl.
What's the delil? Well, that's just
No, tatabbu. We follow the situation. I'm not saying a girl can't. I'm not saying a girl should be disciplined. I didn't say a girl should be disciplined if she breaks a toy. But I'm saying, generally speaking, girls tend to keep their toys longer than the boys. So is it fair for me to say to the boy, look at your sister over there. We bought you both the toys the same time. And look at your sister. She's still got her toy. And look at what you've done to it. You've broken it into pieces. That's my point. I'm not saying if either of them break it, it doesn't. But generally speaking, it's not right on my side why did you break it is the question I'm going to ask. He says, Dad, I broke it because I wanted to see what was inside. I wanted to see this driver who's driving the car.
Yeah.
So it's actually a DIY guy.
Yeah, he's actually thinking.
He's thinking. He's looking into things. He wants to get to the bottom of something. So it's not a negative thing. It's actually, I look at the positive side from it.
So always find out the reason why. Follow up. Don't just be quick to punish. Understand your children. Essentially, is what you're saying. Just understand your kids.
You know what it takes away from you, Shahid? If you start knocking out your child and beating him up for everything he does wrong, it takes away from you your discipline should be very rare. It should be every day, or else it's just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get disciplined.
And it actually defeats the purpose of discipline, because when it's rare, it's like, oh, okay, Dad's really angry today.
Yeah.
But when it's just angry every day, it just doesn't mean anything. And then you're going to lose out on your discipline.
It's true.
Yeah.
So that's a few things.
Yeah.
Another thing is you have to teach your children, akhi, al-isti'dan, and is seeking permission when they enter the rooms. It's another thing I feel like parents, which opens a door of fasad for the child. It messes with children's brains. If a child sees his mother and father intimate, that's a problem. That's a problem. You can't explain to you why you're doing all of this. So
and it can lead to psychological damage.
It could be a problem for the child.
Yeah.
So isti'dan is one of the earliest things that you need to teach your child. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تدخلوا بيوتا غير بيوتكم حتى تستأنسوا وتسلموا على أهلها. You have to seek permission. You can't just go through our rooms or any room. The boys have to also do the same thing with the girls.
Yeah.
You cannot let your daughters Yani just walk into their brother's room, and you can't let the brothers walk into their sister's room like that. They can't see each other. Are you there? That's a punishment. That's a discipline. If you do that, you're going to be disciplined for doing that. Why would you do such a thing? Bad for you to do such a thing. Sah?
Yeah. So it's really, I've said it before, but it's amazing how the religion of Islam is so comprehensive and it's bringing so many rules out about that. People might not have realized that Islam speaks about this.
I know. I just saw a building and didn't have anything holding it down. It was just floating.
I was wondering what you're looking at. I bet there must be something. It's probably just like an illusion or something.
No, it was actually the building was sticking from somewhere, so that was what was holding it.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't they put something underneath it just to hold it down? Anything heavy goes in that building, go down.
Maybe.
And it's a fire.
Really?
It was a fire station or something. So another thing is, don't let your children watch movies and things like this.
Oh, this is a big one. This we really need to go into. Okay. So TV, you believe that the right thing is don't even have a TV in the house.
What do you know what television is doing? It's programming your child's mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Yani, a lot of things your child is learning from movies. He's learning a lot of habits. He's learning a way of life from them. They're teaching him a way of life. They're programming your child's brain. And he's starting to see life that way. I know a family member of mine who traveled to America because of movies they watched. They wanted to live the American life. And they got caught up in fitna and fasad.
And some people might think that's an extreme example, but the reality is every day your child is watching that TV, their brain is being rewired. It really is. It's like really, really dangerous. I'll tell you a story actually. I used to have a TV in my family house when I was growing up. Had a TV. Went to university, had a TV. Came back from university, stayed at home for a year, had a TV. I actually used to watch a lot of TV, subhanAllah. I went out to live on my own for the first time. I lived in Manchester. I just lived on my own, just one bedroom apartment, just me living on my own. I was working there. I had a job there. I just didn't get around to buying a TV. It's not that I'd made a religious decision like I don't want TV. I just didn't get around to buying it. I was like, okay, I need to get this. I realised after a few years, I actually prefer my life without a TV. I don't need a TV. I actually do more things. There's more interesting things. Ever since then, which was 9 years ago, I never had a TV in my house. We've been married, daughter now. I never have a TV. And I strongly advise every single person watching this, don't have a TV in your house. Don't think that you're going to watch good stuff on there, nature documentary. No, I really think a Muslim household should not have a TV. I really believe that.
110%. 110%. Television programs your child's mind, behavior, the way he carries himself. And you're thinking to yourself, why is my child saying this? He doesn't leave the house.
Yeah.
Why am I? You know what I realized? Wallahi, my nephews and some of my nieces and things like that, they're dancing. Where did you learn this from? And the parents to say, oh, come on, man, don't be harsh, man. He's a little kid. But, why are we taking things very lightly?
Yeah.
Like, why are we taking it very lightly? Everything, like the mountain that you see is from pebbles. Things are from small things. إِنَّ الْجِبَالَ مِنَ الْحَصَى, the Arabs say. The mountain is from pebbles. Your daughter's dancing to this nursery rhyme. What's stopping them from being a belly dancer?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it's a path to it, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Your child's learning how to rap. It's having an effect on or singing from this nursery rhymes that you think is normal. It's a stepping stone to rap. And then from rap, there's a type of rap that the youth are listening to called what? Drill, which is murdering and killing. Yeah. Each thing. That's what Allah said in the Qur'an. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Khutuwat means steps. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. He's one by one, he'll try to do things to you. Another thing is, I believe, and I think this is the biggest problem a lot of us parents fall into, is we teach our children to fear us than we do connecting them to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Which is that when the child leaves your house and your supervision, like a lot of kids love college life or uni life.
It's where they get to break free from the parents. Yeah.
But you didn't do غرس مراقبة الله. You haven't nurtured them. Look at Luqman when he was talking to his son. He said, يا بني إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله. Muraqabatullah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Whatever you do, my son, Allah.
Allah.
يعني وما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من القرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا إذ تفيضون فيه وما يعزب عن ربكم من مثقال ذرة إلى آخر الآية. يعني every single thing that you're doing, Allah is aware of it. So nurture your child to fear Allah, not you. Some parents, I remember one time, as a joke, it was a reality. We all got stung by bees in our house. Everyone got stung, except my father. Okay? This actually stuck with me, Shahid. As a child, and I actually told it to other friends of mine. Listen to this. Everyone in the house got stung by a bee. My mother got stung by the bee. My siblings all got stung by a bee. The only person who never got stung is my father. And it makes sense because my dad goes work. And the bee was in the house that day. So it stung a few of us.
Yeah.
So I came home and I said, Dad, why has it stung you?
Yeah.
And as a joke, my dad said, I sent it on you guys. The ones who are naughty, I genuinely believe that. I actually thought my dad controlled the bees. So I went to people and I said to them, my dad
controls bees.
These bees are under my dad's supervision. Like my dad. Then someone don't joke about these things.
Yeah. Because it can lead to a very, very dangerous thought.
Yeah. Plus, yes,
like,
the child's going to grow up and think to himself, whoa, and whoa. And my dad told me this and it's not true.
Not true.
Allah is the one.
What else did he tell me that?
Yeah, it was not true. And people actually question. I remember brother, I was teaching him about the issue of religion and he was like, Akhi, did Allah not say this? And I was like, Allah didn't say that. He said, that's not in the Qur'an. I said, no, it's not in the Qur'an. So he said another thing, and then I said, oh, that's also not in the Qur'an. He goes, Akhi, what did my parents teach me? What did my parents teach me about Islam? You understand my point?
Yeah.
So the issue of muraqabatullah, teaching your child that Allah can see you subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is connect your child to Allah. I promise you, if you do that, they can go wherever they want in the world. They're connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they're scared of Allah. They're not scared of you.
Yes.
You're just means raising them. It's Allah they have to be scared of.
You know, just to go back to the TV thing, I just wanted to add one more thing on there. I don't know much about this stuff and I haven't looked into it, so I can't affirm it, but people at home can maybe look into it. But I hear these things about how these cartoons like Disney and stuff like that, they actually put subliminal messages in their cartoons. I don't know much about it. You heard about this?
Yeah, I was reading message.
To corrupt the child, to corrupt the children, they put subliminal. If that isn't enough to
some of the shows are coming out now. Some of the characters are not they're either lesbians or gays or whatever's coming out, right? And on top of that, other things are happening in there where I remember when we were young, it was Teletubbies, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And one of the characters, they said something about him, right? I don't know if it's true or not.
Okay.
That was one. There was another show when we were young that used to be watched. It's called Tweenies.
Tweenies, I've heard of it.
Yeah. That was one through our childhood.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not black and white.
It's not that long ago. People might be thinking, what is Teletubbies and Tweenies? But no, it doesn't. Yeah. So
these were the cartoons, and there was even. Look at this, wallahi. We never used to watch cartoons and movies, alhamdulillah, but it got introduced to us by cousins and school friends. There was a show that used to come out. It was by Bernard's Watch. Do you remember Bernard's Watch?
I remember Bernard's Watch. Yeah, the guy.
Yeah. Wallahi, look at that.
That's mad, isn't it? Subhanallah. You don't think anything of it as a child, but it can.
Akhi, can you stop time?
Of course not. That's really. Of course not. But that's the concept. So many people might not have understood, but Bernard's Watch, the concept, the guy has a little stopwatch, and whenever he wants, he clicks it, and the whole world stops around him. And if he wants to, he moves around. And I think he was a goalkeeper at school, so when someone shoots the ball, he stops it, he moves there, and he catches it. So parents might belittle these things, though, but they say, what's wrong with that? It's just a little bit of fun, just a little bit of a story. Same with like Harry Potter, it's all about magic and sihr and stuff like that.
You know what? I'll tell you something, yeah? 20 years ago, astaghfirullah, no, 20, 33 now, صح?
You're asking me, yeah?
Yeah, I'm 33 right now, صح?
Yeah.
So subtract 22 years ago, 21 or 22 years ago.
You're like 11, 12.
Yeah, تقريبا. Probably even maybe 10 that time. Was when the first time the Philosopher's Stone came out, Harry Potter, the first book.
Okay, yeah.
The reason I know that one is because we were. It was actually, that was the time J.K. Rowling wrote the first one.
Right.
And in school, people were reading it. Kids were reading it.
Yeah.
This is when people didn't even know of it. You know about that?
You know, Harry Potter, alhamdulillah, I never ever got into it. So even when you said Philosopher's Stone, I actually thought, were you talking about Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? I didn't even know which one you were talking
Lord of the Rings, I don't even know about that.
Yeah.
لا من قريب ولا من بعيد. Never even heard of it. Didn't even know what was it. Was it books that they took it from?
But I remember the kids were really on Harry Potter. They used to read it.
Yeah, Harry Potter, the first one, which was Philosopher's Stone, and the second one, which was Chambers of Secret. Both of these crazy. And we know this. People think we don't understand the youth, but we grew up in that. Do you understand my point?
Yeah.
It affected negatively. At that time, even childhood, one of the things I could see was David Beckham was the most beloved player.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember this.
In school, wallahi, he would cut his hair a certain way. It was everyone was doing it.
The Mohican.
The Mohican. Wallahi, did you know? Yes, subhanallah,
I
wallahi.
remember this. Very funny.
I don't know if you remember. Manchester was Sharp. Remember when they had Sharp?
Yes, I remember that.
Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
They had Sharp, right? What's that guy who was playing? There was an advert that came out where he pulls up his
Eric Cantona.
Yeah,
the French guy. Yeah,
the French guy. He pulls it up and he kicks the ball like a fire.
So everyone started doing this.
Everyone was doing that at school when we went.
It's very true. Yeah.
Everyone was doing it at school. Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is the effect that television had on these people. I could see it when I was young. How even the Spice Girls was most watched.
Yeah.
The effect that it had on the girls. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I remember one day in school, kids were talking about why did he go for Posh Spice and not, what do you call it, Ginger or the other one, or the other ones.
Yeah.
All of these, wallahi. And I was a person, we didn't have television. These fitan and these fasad were not present in our household. But wallahi, from school I learned all these names. All of these things by listening and hearing. I knew it. I knew all the Spice Girls because I could see the cartoons that were watched was Dragon Ball Z and this character, Goku, and this and that. All of this was what? In school, Shahid.
You know, there's two things I want to add. Number one, kids are very impressionable. That's why they're copying the hairstyles and the collar and the Spice Girls and everything. They get influenced very easy. But guess what? A parent can use that to his advantage. Because if you put kids on the deen and you put them around the good characters and you give them this kind of influence, then they're also impressionable. They're also going to want to be like those people. If you yourself as a parent is a righteous Muslim, the kid is going to want to become a righteous Muslim. When I was younger, my dad was a sportsman. Every Saturday, cricket, hockey. If it was in winter, it's hockey. If it was in the summer, it's cricket. During the week, there's stuff, squash going on. I just wanted to be a sportsman. I just wanted to be just like my dad. I just want to go there. So that's how kids are. They just want to be like you. So this shows the role of the parent of making sure that the child gets the right kind of influences. The problem is what you just mentioned now. How can a parent control what a kid is going to be exposed to from their cousins, from their school? Like, that's hard.
So that's another thing. What was happening here was all of that was coming to us, but it didn't have an effect personally on us because of the relationship Dad had with us. He was like always talking to us, and my mother was. And again, imagine your child getting all of that information in his head. I remember, wallahi, I used to go to school and people would say Premiership, and I've never watched football in my life. People talk about Premiership. Is it Premiership?
Yeah, Premiership, Premier League. Yeah,
Premier League. Yeah. What do you call it? The World Cup. Yeah. In secondary school, the World Cup, when Brazil won.
Yeah, it happened in '98. No, or 2002. Yeah, but I know there was one that was big in school. So they made us watch the England matches. Did they do that? They stopped all the lessons.
In my head, I'm like, I don't even know who's. I don't even know where the goalkeeper is. I don't know how they shoot. Wallahi, I don't. Bikulli salah. I know a lot of things, but I just don't know how this game works. Yeah, and in my head, I'm like, why are we? Subjects were stopped.
Yeah, I know. They stopped the whole teaching and just said, "Oh, England are playing. We're going to gather in assembly and just watch."
No,
everything."
this was not England only.
Oh, they watch all matches.
The whole entire
Oh,
World
it's
Cup.
different.
The whole entire World Cup. There was games that, okay, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the entire game. But I know it was a few times we went in. Because I didn't understand. Maybe it was when England was playing.
But you just didn't realise it's only when England's playing. You just thought they're just picking it out. Yeah. In my school, they just did it when England's playing, I think.
Support of their country.
It's to support their country, yeah.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So another thing is, teaching your children from a very young age the Qur'an.
Okay, yeah.
The memorization of the Qur'an.
Yeah.
And having a schedule for that. When the child is at the age of 8, 9, he should have finished the Qur'an.
Allahu Akbar, that early.
That early.
But that's not manageable for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to hear that and think that's crazy. 8, 9. That's
yeah. Latest in child, 8, 9, he's finishing the Qur'an. If you say you waste your child's time and you should have really done it better, 10 is khalas. فُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ.
So if you're saying 8, 9, 10, then how many hours a day is that where the child's memorized the Qur'an to get to that level? And actually before that, what age do you start?
As soon as the child's talking and he's making sense.
To 2 years old, like 1 year old, 2 years old?
No, not really. 5.
5. So
4,
as soon as they have
5.
like a little bit of an understanding.
Yeah, and they can talk and they can, of course. They start memorizing. Once when they pass Surah Al-Ahqaf, the numbers of pages should go fast and quickly. 2, 3, 4, 5 pages should be.
Surah Al-Ahqaf from the back, like 5 ajza from the back.
From Surah to Nas, that way. 5 pages, 4 pages, 3 pages.
And it's possible because the child's memory at that time is like a sponge. It will take so much. It just requires a little bit of effort from the parent, just having a schedule.
It doesn't require a lot.
Yeah.
Another thing is having moments with your child to go and visit the graves and the hospitals.
Wow.
Very important.
I never thought that was right.
This is very important, Shahid Wallah.
Yeah.
Your children will be very grateful. Always remind them, this is where we're going to all go.
Allah.
Really? Yeah. Some people were like, aren't you scaring the kid?
I was going to say that.
Well, your kids are watching nightmare movies and you're asking this question. No, it's not. He's learning the hatmul lazimul, the reality that's going to come.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Wallahi, they ask questions and they can ask you what they want. And even going to the hospitals and seeing sick people and asking them questions, good questions. So you organize the questions that you're going to ask and you go to the hospitals and they ask these sensible questions and they get an understanding of what's happening here. Your kids would appreciate what they have.
I think there's definitely a thing about parents overly like putting their kids in bubble wrap. You know, like just what you said, if you take a child to a graveyard, they're going to say, no, I don't want to tell them about death. But it's just this concept of just wrap the kid in bubble wrap. But all you're doing is that when they actually get to know about death and they actually get to the real world, and maybe you're not even with them at the time, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even harder for them to take you. But the Qur'an thing, I think what I say to parents, because I know a lot of people might be watching that thinking, you know what, that's really, really difficult. I just want my child to play, just be a child. What I'll say is that even if you have that goal, that 8 or 9 years old to complete the Qur'an, guess what will happen if your child doesn't complete the Qur'an? They're going to get a large portion of it, and you're going to set them on your way. So definitely something that we should all be trying, inshallah.
That's true. Another thing I tell parents is that there are good researches done on parenting. Okay? There are good researches done on tariqah, the paths of parenting. And Allahumma barik, there are good people who've studied and mastered this, who are Muslims, specialists at this. If you can get their help, their advices, their support, is very important. I encourage that. There's good Islamic researchers, Islamic books that are written on this. There are also good, even non-Muslim stuff that are written.
Right.
But you just have to be very careful of where they go wrong and where they go right. But there are points of good benefits that I've seen in some of them that you could benefit from. Funny enough, I'll tell you something shocking. Yeah. By the way, this person doesn't know I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to be shocking to them as well. But there's a channel that's called Iman's Homeschooling.
That's right, I've seen it.
This channel, I have not ever, I don't know who runs it, I don't know how it runs, but the missus was telling me that it was what impacted her when it came to the tarbiyah of the children.
It helped her a lot.
Helped.
Allah.
And that's when we embarked on the path of going to Egypt.
Oh wow.
And my children study the Qur'an now. They memorize many books. Just because that channel empowered parenting and homeschooling. And wallahi, this is what I want to say. People don't know what you do. If you do khair and the people you benefit, you just don't know. Wallahi, the truth of the matter is, I didn't know. So the first thing I did was, when I found out this information, I sent a message to the person who's running the channel, and I said, look, I just want to say thank you very much. What you've done for me and my children is Jazakallahu khairan. You know, the Prophet said it, Man sana alaykum ma'rufan fakafi'uh, fa in lam tajidu bima tukafi'unahu fad'u lahu. If someone does something for you, good, thank them. And if not, make dua for them. And if somebody does something good for you, repay them back. And if you're not able to, then make dua for them. And I make so much dua for that channel and the people who are running it, or the person who's running it. May Allah put barakah in their life and their children, their progeny and their offspring. And I think we need this right now. We need a very strong parenting mentorship.
Yeah, and I've heard similar things about Iman's homeschool. Again, I've not checked them out. I don't know much about them. I've seen, and when you say channel, I think it's important to know it's not actually a YouTube channel. It's if
website,
people type in Iman's homeschool in Google, it will come up. It's like some kind of blog. But there's a lot of resources for how to homeschool your children, worksheets, all of this. And I've heard many people use it. So it's definitely, it just shows that someone putting in effort to benefit the Muslims. You just never know what it's going to reach.
You don't know who's going to impact and who's going to benefit. Wallahi, my children have memorized a lot. And this person is going to get ajr for it. Every single child that learnt, the reward for them is so high. So I ask Allah, anyone who's supporting me in my path and my tariqah, may Allah strengthen them and raise them مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. But one thing I personally know, and I can put my hand up and say, is that you can't do it by yourself.
Correct.
If you think you can raise your children by yourself, you don't need anyone, then you don't know what you're doing. You failed from the beginning. You need people, you need advice, you need help, you need direction, you need moral support. Sometimes, wallahi, you lose that momentum. You need someone to wake you up and say, look, what are you doing? Fix up.
Yeah.
Pull your socks. This is not just you now, it's their future. You don't mess up their future. You need that.
And naturally, obviously, that normally comes in the form of your spouse, whether it be your husband or your wife. And it's very important that the parents, they work together on this goal. This is something that they share. Regardless of what's happening between the parents, they might be having arguments, they might not be seeing eye to eye, but it's important that they always remember the kids can't suffer as a result of this.
True.
The kids are the end goal here, that we have to work together. And also it's important that the kids don't see the parents arguing. If the parents need to argue, do it behind the scenes.
That's another one.
That's a really important one, right?
Shahid, wallahi, this one is big. You know your children, you teach them how to deal with conflicts. You do. You actually, when you're angry, they're looking at how you respond. When you're happy, they look at how you respond. They're learning from you, Allah. You're a teacher in every aspect. Araft?
Yeah.
You're a teacher in all your movements. I told you this before. The day I took my son out, we were walking, and I did something wrong, which is I spat on the ground. And he did the same thing with me. Was the last day I realized I can't be doing this anymore.
He copied you immediately.
He did it exactly. And I looked at his face and the saliva was still on his face. I was like, oh no.
That's gross.
Because he's copying me.
Yeah.
He wants to do everything I do. I realized the game has changed now. Like, I need to fix myself. So people don't realize this journey of Tarbiyatul Awlad is also for you as well. You are becoming a better person yourself.
Yeah, amazing. It's like when you teach Islam, right? Sometimes when you're teaching adults, you're reviewing your knowledge, you're reviving your knowledge.
Yeah,
like this.
100%. Another thing I really want to say is that as parents, you also have to remember the relationship that you build between the siblings. Sometimes what parents do is they always assume that one of the children is always the bad one. So they've got that programmed in their head, and one is just a good one. And by default, they have a preconceived notion in every conflict that happens.
Right, yeah.
So automatically they're on the side of the one who they believe is always the good one. No, every situation, my children, I have to renew my mind and give each situation a clear observation. So what did you say? What did he say? Whether I believe that one of them is up to something, it could happen that there's a situation where he was the victim. He was a victim of that situation. You're looking at the thing.
Yeah.
You saw it now.
I had to have a look. Yeah.
Do you understand my point?
Yeah.
He's a victim of the situation. It could happen. So there's a qa'idah the scholars mention, al-khata'u fil afwi khayrun min al-khata'i fil uquba. It is better to do a mistake in forgiving than to do a mistake in punishing.
Be lenient, rather err on the side of leniency rather than err on the side of harshness
or punishing. So, and by the way, you're creating the future relationship that these children are going to have.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I was young, I was always messing about all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I was always messing about. And I wouldn't get angry. My personality was I didn't get angry. I was laughed. I was always the bubbly guy. I was always joking. And one of my brothers just didn't like anyone coming into his space. He didn't like anyone. So he's a reserved, conservative person.
Yeah.
And I, on the other hand, I love to tickle him or crack a joke about him, and I get under his skin so quick. My parents, the mistake they did was they would never tell me off because I'm laughing.
Yeah, I see.
So they always say to him, he's laughing, he's joking. Why can't you take a joke? That's wrong tarbiyah.
Right.
So I always got away with it
because
I'm the bubbly one.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who's laughing, but I'm the one who's wronging here.
Yeah.
I'm not respecting his needs.
Personal space, his own personality.
And name calling him as well.
Yeah. Okay, mashallah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
So that's also another thing is,
the point on learning about kids learning from their parents, this kind of stuff, they will stay with the child throughout his whole life. Like the early years, imagine this. I think you said one of your lectures, the first madrasa of a child is at home.
That sounds true.
This whole concept of the family living together and the way they're behaving with each other, this is what the child is. And I don't want to use the word child because ultimately that child is going to become an adult and they're still going to cling on to these behaviors. Like we come from the UK, there's certain things I do in this country that I'm still affected by the UK. So it happened the other day. I was in the masjid, and recently I was traveling. I went to Gambia a couple of weeks ago, and a brother came up to me in the masjid saying, "Assalamu alaikum, I haven't seen you for a week or whatever. How's everything going? Are you okay?" I was thinking that I haven't seen the brother. I hope he's okay. I was like, why is he talking to me from the UK? Well, no one talks to each other. Yeah, it was just really exactly what do you want from me. What he's done is something really nice. It's something that should be done. It's something that's really, really brotherly. It's part of Islam. And because of my background of the UK, I'm like, that's a bit stalkerish. I've never seen this guy before. How did he even know that?
If he hugs you, you touch your pocket. Have you taken something out of my pocket? If he hugs you,
So my point is, this kind of stuff sticks with the child all the way through adulthood.
It's true. Honestly, it is true. Any person who's overly bubbly and so brotherly with me, I don't know what does he want from me.
Because of the UK background.
Yeah, we're very conservative people. Yeah. I remember I went to Canada and I was shocked with their character. People from Canada are different from the people in the UK. Very bubbly people. And I found it awkward and weird. Mm-hmm. We don't do that in the UK. You're on the underground in London, for example. You're reading your newspaper. You don't talk to anybody. No one talks to anyone. People do their own. Do your thing, I'll do my thing. I landed in Pearson, Toronto airport. Okay. The first thing when I landed, it's the first time I went to Toronto. A woman came up to me and she literally asked me my thobe. She said, "Hey, where did you get this from?" And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know you. You don't know me. Why are you talking to me? I wouldn't ask you that. This is what's running all through my head. Then I said to her, "Yeah, it's a Muslim clothing." She's like, "Oh wow, okay, it looks really nice. Can women wear it?" I'm like, yeah. No, women can't wear this. Do you understand? It's the bi'ah that we were born and raised in.
Yeah.
In the UK, where we're conservative, we don't do this. We don't roll like that.
And the same thing happens when you're in a family environment and you're raised upon one thing. That child is going to carry it all the way through to adulthood. Their work life. You're really affecting the child on a huge level here.
Another thing I want to mention is that raising the children upon thiqatun nafs. I don't like using that word because it's not right for us to use it. I'm against it. It goes against the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So the word I'm trying to look for is raising the child upon confidence.
Right.
Where he's confident in his, in what he needs to do.
Yes.
He's got that, so thiqatun nafs is something we should avoid and not say.
Yeah.
But the word I'm looking for is, he has confidence. So bravery, for example, courage, and he also is able to speak his mind. And this is what we're suffering from today, where Muslims have inferiority complex.
That's so true.
That they feel shy to speak about their religion. Why do you think a lot of these liberal Muslim speakers are watering down the deen?
Yeah, it's very true.
Just to fit in with society, right? So the girl when she goes to school and she's got a hijab on, she's very shy about it. And she's a bit embarrassed about it. The boy is wearing a thobe and he's embarrassed about his clothing. Brother, don't be embarrassed.
We have the truth on our side.
Yeah, this person's Ariya. She's naked, man. She's not wearing no clothes. And she's got courage in doing that.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
It makes no sense.
Have you ever been like that?
Okay, what part of my life? Through secondary school and everything like that?
Any time in your age that you've been like really embarrassed, a bit shy to be a Muslim, don't want to give da'wah, don't want to talk about Islam. Have you ever been that?
I've never been shy to being a Muslim.
Yeah.
There have been moments in my life where I have felt shy because I used to wear, even in college, I used to wear my thobe was short. And even if I did wear trousers, I would always make it short. For example, if it's long, I'll tuck it into my socks. Some of my trousers, I actually cut them.
Right.
You know those I love those American trousers. That
That's a 3/4 length kind of.
No, not 3/4 length. What's it called? Echo Unlimited.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I don't really know.
I used to buy those ones and I would cut them from the bottom, and I would
tracksuit bottoms.
No, yeah,
jogging like.
Yeah, like these ones. What they called?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I would make this out of it myself.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will say to me like, for example, especially when I put it into my socks.
Yes.
They would say to me, "Oh, are you a horse rider?"
Right,
things like that, and I'll just feel a bit shy and embarrassed. But not where I'd say my deen, this religion is embarrassing, but they make me feel a certain way. Yeah, definitely.
The reason I asked is because I had this big time inferiority complex, big time.
I never had
inferiority. I really had this. I used to do, when I first started taking my deen seriously, because I was in the UK and I was in the corporate world. I remember I was living in Manchester, the job that I was talking about earlier. I was living on my own in Manchester, and there used to be a da'wah table, in town centre. You used to go there. I used to go there sometimes on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday morning. I used to be at the da'wah table. I used to make dua to Allah, please don't let anyone from my office come. I was really shy of it, really, really shy and embarrassed. I thought if someone from my office comes, they're going to say, Shaheed or Shahid or whatever they say. I don't know how they used to say it.
What did they call you?
I think they used to call me Shah.
Shah?
It's just easier for them. I was just call me Shah because it's too complicated for them. Shahid is just too complicated. So Shah, what are you doing here, mate? What are you doing here? I was really like, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd get really embarrassed. So I had this big time. Now, alhamdulillah,
and you were giving da'wah as well.
I was trying to give da'wah because I knew I should, and I knew it's a good thing to do, and so I was trying to put myself in that situation, but I was really awkward about it. I really, really used to hate it.
Subhanallah.
I had this big time.
It never reached that point. I just felt like when they did say things, they made me feel a certain way.
Right.
But but I wouldn't go home and change my clothing. I was proud of what the world, especially in university when I came to uni. I used to be shy from the Muslims seeing me because I just wanted to go in and out. But not the kuffar. I would always. Now I'd only feel shy because of the Muslims, because they would distract me from either being in the uni or studying, going out.
Now, of course, I look back at that and think, why was I embarrassed? I've got the truth on my side. It doesn't make sense.
It's sad.
But
You're not to be blamed to an extent because of the environment that you're in. How can you feel confident in a place where the storm that's coming your way is this, and you are the minority? I feel like this is what parents need to create in that child's mind and head. So I'm going to tell you a story, subhanAllah, about my younger brother, subhanAllah. And he's alive, Allahumma barik, so you can always ask him. My brother, there was a subject where we had to study about the Tudors, Henry VIII, and how he beheaded his wives and whatnot. And of course, once you study the Tudors, you're going to actually learn about Christianity, right? And the Crusades.
Yeah.
And it comes in there, right? My brother refused. He said, I'm not going to study this. Abadan.
Allah.
Yeah, and then my dad was like, oh, why? Wait, what is it? What's it? Me and my older brother are like, we studied it. Wallah, we learned it. And we never saw this problem. What are you talking about? He goes, no, they mentioned this and they mentioned this and they mentioned that. But you told me about Islam and this. It was a hujjah against my mum and dad. Actually, my mum and dad, and he's actually saying, I don't want it. Mum and dad, you can't force me into haram. You know that, right?
Allahu Akbar, mashallah.
Actually, he's year 4.
Wow.
Year 3, year 4. You know what my dad did? 2 things. So the minister of education, the Ministry of Education had to send the head of the department from Haringey, and he had to come down to my mum's house. I remember, wallahi, that he sat. And wallahi, they said, okay, he won't study that subject.
Wow.
The school was like, he has to. There was a case against the school and us. You know what my dad did? Once we won the case, my dad was like, they're gonna do something to my son. They might do something to my son. So my dad, straight away, this is when we moved to Birmingham. I didn't move because me and my brother, my older brother, we stayed in London a little bit longer than that.
Right.
To finish off our secondary school. But my dad straight away moved my brother and my sisters from school. Actually, guess what happened? My dad actually went into the school one day when the gates got closed. He was inside the school.
Really?
Yeah, like the gates got closed. My dad was in the school. And they called my dad and they said, what are you doing? Basically, my dad saw in school that the first subject was PE. And my sister was wearing her hijab, and the teacher was like, you have to take your hijab off.
Oh, wow. Back then they said that.
Yeah, you have to take off because if you climb in the apparatus and it's gonna catch you.
Hazard,
yeah, safety hazard. You have to take it off. And my sister, my sister always loved to wear it. She's like, no, I don't want to wear it, Dad. I don't want to wear it. I want to wear it. I want to wear it. You know what my dad did? He went to the teacher and he said, what are you doing? She wants to wear it. What's the problem? Anyways, this is when my dad got very scared and worried. He straight away he took them to an Islamic school in Birmingham, where they studied. So this, subhanAllah, was from a young age. My brother was actually showing confidence and shaja'ah, belief in his religion, regardless of whether they liked it or not.
And it came from the tarbiyah at home.
And it did.
Okay, there's a few really important points I just want to quickly go through, inshallah. So we mentioned about TVs. What about mobile phone? What are your thoughts on mobile phone?
Oh, it gets worse.
Kids should never have the mobile phone. What age should they? What age are they allowed it? Would you give them a little brick Nokia phone or? Yeah,
of course. Sometimes in school, the child has to leave and go places. I'll give him a basic phone.
But never a smartphone.
No, never these dumb phones.
Dumb phones, yeah. Well, okay. Even at a later age. Like,
that he has to buy himself if he wants to.
Right. Okay.
He makes those choices.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
But you know what's sad, Shahid? This is the sad part, which is that the child actually can't give you his own desire what he wants because he's got influence in school. He's going to feel embarrassed to get his phone out.
That's true.
Peer pressure.
Yeah.
I'm like, please, Mum, don't buy me his phone.
Yeah.
Because of my friends.
Okay,
because remember the why mobile phones are worse is because television is at least they release what they want. But here he's got freedom to find whatever he wants.
Also, at least television is fixed to a place. He has to come to the living room. Phone is with you everywhere. You could be in the bedroom. Your mum and dad doesn't even know what you're looking at in your bedroom. You could be anywhere. Literally, phone is very dangerous for kids. Very dangerous.
And also, what he wants to watch, he can select what he does want to watch and not. Television is 5 channels in the UK. If you've got the normal standard.
Oh, it's changed now. Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe the normal standard now. I remember when they bought Channel 5, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Channel 5. Now I think they've got like Sky and all that. Yeah. It's
so even with Sky, you can't choose what you want to watch in the sense where that they release whatever they want. But here I can choose what I want to watch. I pick and choose.
Yeah.
From the internet. No.
Okay, there's only one more point I want to end with, because I'm just conscious we're reaching our destination and I don't think we're going to get a chance to have another go at filming today, inshallah. So the final point I want to conclude with now is we spoke a lot about, even from the journey from the start, like a wife or a husband or a sister or brother picking their spouse, then going through the journey of even before intercourse, what do they say, and then raising a child. There is something that happens, and unfortunately it's becoming so common in this world as well, the issue of divorce. When people end up in divorce, what tends to happen is that the kids suffer as a result of it, because the parents are bickering between themselves and the kids just get left to the side. Sometimes the parents even use the kids against the other parent. What kind of advice would you give here for parents who may have divorced but they've still got children?
There's 2 relationships that were there when you and your wife were married, or you and this brother were married, sister, which is you were his wife, or you were her husband, and you were a parent. Now that you're no longer married and you're not husband or wife, the parenting still hasn't gone. And you guys have to co-parent together. This belief where when you divorce a woman, you also divorce the children is disgusting.
Yeah.
Or whether you love the woman or you hate the woman, the child is yours.
Yes.
Why would you make them suffer? Why would you make the child suffer? You both made a conscious decision of wanting to have these children, and you brought these children into this earth. Take the responsibility together. Work together. They say the place where 2 elephants fight, grass gets destroyed. When you both fight each other like that, the children damaged. It damages the children. In order to get these children to grow mentally, physically, everything, they need you both to be on the same side. And that's what I say to people. Hate each other if you want. Just hate each other and ignore one another. But when it comes to these children, you're united.
Yes. Yeah. It's very important. Very important.
Let's agree to disagree on everything other than between me and you. These children, we both have to be united. And we both have to be together. Sorry. We both have to be together. We both have to be on the same page. Or else, these children are going to suffer, and the consequences of our heedlessness is going to come back to us one day. When this child is destroying and harming society and people make dua against us, we will suffer even more. And that's why I say to brothers who've divorced their wives, or even if the sister's asked for a khula and she's left a relationship, or whatever it may be, what I want to say is, because of your children, bend your back for the mother. She asks for money for your children, just for your children. Be at this moment, don't fight too much. For the good of your children, don't be stingy. Don't be stingy with your time, and don't be stingy with your wealth. Give. Because who's going to benefit? If she takes that money from you, who's she going to give it to? She's going to give it to your children. Khalas. Yeah. Your children are going to have it. Your children are going to be. Don't make your children suffer, wallah. It's very bad when a man uses money to control the woman. It's not nice. It's not a good thing. Once you go on your separate ways, and it's written by Allah Ta'ala that this has come to an end, financially take care of your wife or your ex-wife and the children.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful what you said, that when you become a parent, you have two roles. You're a husband and a father, for example. Just because the husband role goes away, your father role is not gone away. You're still there. You need to still be there for kids. Very powerful. Very powerful. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope that people have benefited, inshallah. And I think next time we'll cover another topic. بإذن الله الكريم. Ustad.
Barakallah.
Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khairan.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Allah bless you.